crimes everywhere, and the powers that be struggling to keep it together. Those that are paying attention have asked you to stand up long ago. We'd offered information, we showed up. We told you we'd stand with you against the state, the federal, CDC, or anyone else who is putting a price tag on our children's health, safety, or education. We have watched you cower, be silent, and disregard our concerns. 68% of the citizens in the U.S. do not know the three branches of government: the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. A brief overview has led to an uninformed society. Chippewa Valley should start there and include military, war, and powers acts, codes, and laws. Most importantly, legislation, because our country runs on legislation. This is what's missing. Then we can begin to discuss the 11 executive orders and emergency powers that President Trump put in place and Mr. Biden has signed every 180 days to extend. As the train heads closer to the edge of the cliff, and we are all on this train, maybe we can start to understand that the last 8 years were necessary to divert a 16-year plan where none of us win a prize. United we stand, and divided we fall.
Situation for sexually explicit books in our school system. In their effort to discredit those objecting to the current stock of our sexually explicit school books in public schools, our friends on the left state the often repeated deception that the Bible contains pornography. Pornography is defined as in the Encyclopedia Britannica, representation of sexual behavior in books, pictures, statues, and films, etc., that is intended to cause sexual excitement. Pornography is defined in the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. The depiction of erotic behavior as in pictures or writing intended to cause sexual excitement. In general, the Bible, specifically in this case the Old Testament, is a history of God's peoples and his relationship with them. There has never been a historical fact in the Bible that has been categorically proven a fact, false, or a lie. Question: does the Bible contain pornographic material? Based on the modern standards outlined above, the Bible does not contain what is commonly understood as pornographic material. The Bible, being a religious text, contains narratives of human life, including sexuality, but it does not contain explicit depictions or descriptions of sexual acts for the purpose of arousal, which is a definition of characteristics of pornography. Instead, the Bible portrays sex and sexuality within the context of marriage and family. Amen. Often using it as a metaphor for God's relationship with humanity, or the relationship between Christ and the church. The Bible's view on sexuality, including marriage, adultery, sexual immorality, are presented within the framework of its moral teaching. It emphasizes the sanctity of marriage and the importance of faithfulness while condemning sexual immorality. Those on the left will gleefully point to the Bible to support their deceitful statement that it contains pornography, while at the same time the left conveniently leaves out the fact the Bible also spells out dire consequences of sexually deviant behavior. Does the phrase, the Lord rained down fire and brimstone upon these cities, ring a bell to anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Try reading Genesis, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Where do you think the word sodomy came from? This is the part of the story the left conveniently leaves out. In closing, there is a difference between the Bible's depiction of its morality and sex and the outright promotion of promiscuity and the acts of sexual deviancy as exhibited in the sexually explicit books recently allowed in our public school for our children. And in comment to the gentleman who said that parents are not training their children to accept these things and to handle these things, the fact of the matter is children over to you to make sure that they don't experience these things. We need your help and your cooperation with us to enact these things and help educate our children properly. Thank you.
School board, board president, members. My name is Fred Mead. My grandchildren are going here. My children went here. I don't want to see pornography in my schools. Yeah, that's right. It's my schools too, not just yours. So we had a little lesson on free speech at the prior meeting. You might have heard some vulgarity. Remember that? Just because you can use free speech doesn't mean you can say things that are objective. Most people understand what the difference between social grace and disgrace. I don't think you guys understand the necessity to understand the difference between moral and immoral. So, if we take and look at the opportunity for free speech, it doesn't mean we have to use vulgarity in our speech. Make sense? Just because we have the opportunity to use our First Amendment pictorial version of sex doesn't mean we have to use it. Can you understand that? Remember the poster I brought to you? I brought it again today. Can you see it? It's got Jesus right here, right? Remember that? Can you see it? Faith right here, right? Remember below it? Yep. It said believe.
I can see it.
That was the spiritual. That's what we're trying to explain to you. Maybe you don't want to believe that. That's okay. I'm talking about trust on this side and respect on this side. Trust and respect is social. Do you understand that one? Okay? Respect, disgrace, right? So you can take that word Jesus out and you can put in the word truth. Remember me telling you about that? That's the social graces. It's something learned in the home. But unfortunately, we learn social disgraces in schools. Schools that you were supposed to control. Apparently you have a problem with that. We'd like to help. But you won't even use your free speech rights to discuss the problem. So we, the people who own this, don't understand why you don't want to talk about it. It's your free right. God gave you free will to discuss pornography in these schools. Oh, and by the way, when I go look at the transcript on this, you will censor the word pornography. Apparently that's not good enough for you.
Not supposed to.
So, remember, it's our schools, it's our right to teach our children. Take a good look at it. Give us the discussion we're asking for on your pornography.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
My name is Delora Paul. I live in Clinton Township. I live in Chippewa Valley School District. And I want to address something that happened at the last board meeting because I was absolutely appalled. We have these concerned parents who are talking about pornography in our books. They allege pornography. And how did that concerned parent do this? He used the most vulgar, crude, obscene, inappropriate language. I was absolutely offended, and I hope it doesn't happen again. And when he used
in the
this
books.
crude language, he said, I I have a first to right amendment to use the F word. And incidentally, there's a 14-year-old young female in this audience that he knew was here and used that language. I tell you, these people are not concerned about pornography. If they were, they would not be using the language they're using. And I'm highly offended by that. I want to apologize to the board for the kinds of things they have to listen to. And I want to tell you, I think you are doing a wonderful job. I do not believe there's pornography in any of the books in our schools, and that you're not teaching, and I do not believe you're teaching children sexuality at all. And every time I come to this board meeting, I'm absolutely floored and awed by the wonderful things that are going on in this school district. All the awards our students are winning, all the things they're learning, all the wonderful programs they have, the fact that the board is up on protection of students, the fact that they understand that AI is coming and are taking steps to handle it. I'm very pleased and happy with the board, and I want to thank you for your service.
I'll give her something offensive.
Some damning information about this board came out at the last meeting. Ironically, this board posted that meeting video on the school website claiming there was audio issues. So there's only video with no sound. But don't worry, your cheer squad here featured some of the best clips on their Facebook group page. A post on that page states, quote, "We stand in solidarity against divisive rhetoric. We continue to build bridges, not barriers, and commit to a standard of reporting that reflects truth, respects diversity, and fosters unity," unquote. Sounds wonderful, right? Well, in reading through other posts, I found they were almost entirely comprised of misinformation along with vitriol towards everyone opposing their opinions. Snippets from mine and Hassan's speeches from the last meeting were immortalized in a video montage on their page. Thanks for the free advertising. They claimed the documented facts I spoke about were, quote, alt-right propaganda and QAnon theories. They further claimed our side is here to, quote, terrorize anyone supporting LGBT students, and we can't allow this extremism in our schools, unquote. Reading through the comments under their post, the ignorance and hatred towards our group was blatant. One person accused us of being obsessed with sex. Imagine that coming from a group whose very existence is predicated solely on sex. Another person called us disgusting sickos and demanded we be jailed. An official 2nd Congressional Michigan Democrat Party member stated IDs should be checked before we're allowed to enter. How hypocritical when their party opposes voter IDs.
Violation of the Fourth Amendment.
No surprise, Mr. King's wife chimed in on the post, stating in part, quote, "They have about 8 regulars that find any little issue in the district to latch onto or make stuff up just to complain, put on a show, and take up time. Plus, they are disgustingly hateful," unquote. Wow. This all seems extremely contrary to what the Facebook group claims to represent. It's also very hypocritical considering the district's bullying policy was the subject of the last 4 meetings, and she's already been exposed for mocking a child here, not to mention her husband sits on this board. Our group isn't here to make stuff up, put on a show, or take up time. We're here to hold the school board to account.